What is up, For Honor family? A couple of years ago, I did a perks explanation video. It covered everything you need to know. In part of that video, I broke down how you go about a 3-perk build from default with minutia. And yes, on a 3-perk build, you can use common, rare, and any one of epic, heroic, or legendary perks, but you can't construct a 3-perk build using only epic, heroic, and legendary perks. It's a lost cause, a waste of steel. You can't do it. A lot of players asked about that. I'm just restating it here. Something I've wanted to do ever since that perks explanation vid was to show every hero's 3-perk build. It took me some time to get there, y'all, but I'm there now, and that's what I'm about to show you. By the way, you can find my perks explanation video and my perks ranking video in the description. I also want to read about your thoughts on your perk builds for different heroes. It's good for everyone to see the different opinions. I always say that, and I think it's good for everyone to understand your why behind your perk builds. And maybe we'll discover something, or we look to change up our own perks because of something that somebody else mentioned, either in the video or the comments. So that's what this is about. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to start with the Knights and Warden. I went with Shields Up, Devourer, and Headhunter here. Warden doesn't have the best perk grouping, and really Vanguards don't have the best perk grouping. That's something I discovered here. But he does have Devourer. I don't think any player should pass up Devourer when it's available. Warden recently received new feats, and with the way I use the heroes, these work best for me. I'll get a shield when revived for 15 seconds, which inclines me to allow teammates to revive, 10 HP on execution, and 4 HP for each tier level I reach for a max of 16 HP. I'll take that. Now with Conqueror, I feel there are a few ways you can go. I went with Remedy, Bastion, and Last Stand. They feel like perfect fits for a hero that is solid at holding Archer and capture points until help arrives. Or if you're defending the Ram in Breach, Bastion helps you in all 3 of those areas. Remedy is a no-brainer common perk, and Last Stand works well with Conk's feat combos, adding another layer of durability, getting 40% damage resistance when you're at less than 25 for your health pool. This is a common 3-perk build for me that you'll see, so there won't be a need to go into the why on the other heroes I have it equipped on. You'll already know. Also, when you can get perks to complement your feats, it's an added bonus, and that little bonus is sometimes all you need. For Peacekeeper, I decided to run Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush them. You will see a theme amongst some of these since there are only 21 perks, and I believe all my assassins run this sort of combination. The main reason why is because if I can get extra health on execution or kill, I'm taking it, because it doesn't matter what tiered feat you're on. You gain that perk. Early Reaper works well because every time you spawn, you deal 30% more damage on your first attack. If it's blocked, it's still applied. So you still get something, and it applies on feats. So if you are revived or spawn and shoot your crossbow or drop that catapult that's like doing more damage in your favor, Crush them helps out by getting you that extra 30% damage on your attack. So with this perk grouping, I'm getting damage boosts after kills, takedowns, and upon spawn. Every little bit of damage can matter in a battle, and y'all know that. For Lawbringer, I went with Remedy, Bastion, and Last Stand. Similarly to Conk, they work well with your feats. Having Righteous Deflection on top of Bastion just adds to the tank Lawbringer can be if outnumbered in the zone. Some may want to go with Vengeful Barrier or Bulk Up, but more times than not, I'm going with perks that are available to me without stipulations. So basically, as soon as the dang horn sounds, it's available. Vengeful Barrier, you need to get Revenge to use, and Bulk Up, you need to gain tiers to maximize. Some matches you may not reach your tier 4, or you get your tier 4 closer to the end of the match. It's all preference, but this perk build is hard to pass up for me. For Centurion, I went with Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush them. This is the same perk grouping I had with PK. Headhunter would be the only replacement I would see for Crush them. It's just preference between gaining tiers to get permanent HP benefits versus takedown and next attack benefits. For Gladiator, I went all offensive perks with Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush them. Very similar to Scent, but also similar to the other Assassin PK. And once again, Headhunter would be the next best option if I was to swap out Crush them. Crush them can provide a nice toe stab damage boost, which is always good for Glad. For Black Prior, I went Assist into defensive perks with Remedy, Bastion, and Last Stand. With BP, I definitely could see why someone would go Rising Dawn, especially if you're a heavy support player, or even Bulk Up on the 3rd perk. It just depends on what feats you're running. If you're running Speed Revive for your tier 1 feat, then Rising Dawn is your choice. And that's what I run for some of my Nobushi slots. For Warmonger, I went with the Vanguard Special, since her perks are identical to Warden. Go figure.
They were treating you the same way they treat me, just like me.
And that's Shields Up, Devourer, and Headhunter. Fresh Focus and Survival Instincts are lesser than with all these stamina changes. I actually have a build where I have endurance instead of shields up, but those are the only types of builds I would run for Warmonger. I do see a world where players would run Aegis. I just feel with this perk grouping, these are the two most optimal for Warmonger. For Griffin, I went with the grouping I haven't mentioned yet, and that's Radiant Rebound, Remedy, and Clever Tactics. Now, Griffin's feats are the same as Nobushi's feats, but I went with Clever Tactics on this versus what I went for with my Nobushi. I do think I'm going to go from Clever Tactics to Rapid Refresh because that 5% cooldown reduction you get on takedowns and assists can be a better benefit to your hero than Clever Tactics. So I'm probably going to change this one for him, even if I don't change it for my Nobushi. Now on to the Vikings. For Raider, I went with the Vanguard Special, Shields Up, Devourer, and Headhunter. To this point, you've noticed that all those Vanguards have the same perk groupings, which doesn't make freaking sense given how each hero is used. There's nothing that stands out that would accentuate Raider's feats. It's just what we have to work with. So we move. We got to deal with it. For Warlord, I went with Bastion, Vengeful Barrier, and Last Stand. Vengeful Barrier was a different choice here. I already kind of talked about it, but Warlord is a capable staller which increases your opportunities to gain revenge. And Vengeful Barrier provides a 25 HP shield for 15 seconds when you come out of revenge, hence the name. This perk grouping is all defensive, and outside of bulk up is the best combo you could piece together to prolong your survival. For Berserker, I went with, you guessed it, Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush Them, the Assassin Special. All three offensive perks for a hero that's designed to apply max pressure. Don't overthink your perks, y'all. If it makes sense to you, go for them. Just understand which perks you can go for, as I alluded to at the start of this. For Valkyrie, I went with Remedy, Feline Agility, and Clever Tactics. Now, as I stated for Griffin, Rapid Refresh does make sense here. Completely your preference. I'm not going to argue anyone down for your perk choices because that's your choice based on how you want to play it. On Redo, I would probably go Rapid Refresh, but I don't want to use the steel to do it. It's a lot of steel to even get any of these perks. I like the combination of using Rush along with the additional speed I would get through tiers to navigate across the map quickly for Valk, and I think it works well for Valk. For Highlander, I went with Bastion, Vengeful Barrier, and Last Stand. While it's not the strongest perk grouping based on the hero's feats, it's the best combination out of what is offered. As I stated before, and will probably state again, Bulk Up instead of Last Stand is also a solid option. Highlander is a hybrid, but he is a heavy hero lean, and his perk grouping reflects that. For Shaman, I went with Devour, Remedy, and Crush Them. This is one of those rare assassins that has both Devour and Remedy. If you have that as an option, you take it. So no assassin special for this, but you get a special assassin perk grouping, that's for sure, and it works well with her kit. Not only can you get health from her bite, but if it's a takedown and you have Remedy, you get an extra 10 HP on top of that. Definitely feels good since it's not an execution. For Jormungandr, I went with Bastion, Vengeful Barrier, and Last Stand. This is a hero where I would understand if you went with Aegis since it boosts your shield and would help you in an outnumbered situation. The problem is that Feat Shield only lasts 5 seconds. And it's not like the Hammer Slam is guaranteed in that situation unless you have Revenge, and then you have a shot. In that case, you have a shield already. I do like these three together since there's something comforting about having a shield once you exit Revenge and you're low health. You have 15 seconds with it, so make it count. For Varangian Guard, I went with Remedy, Feline Agility, and Clever Tactics. This is another one in hindsight, Rapid Refresh could be a better option than Clever Tactics because it can really serve you well. But this combination is one of those that is beauty in the eye of the beholder, y'all. So there's no clear-cut grouping winner here for me, but Remedy needs to be a part of any perk grouping you put together, and that's for sure. Now for the Samurai. For Kensei, this is the Vanguard special build, but I decided not to go with Shields Up, Devour, and Headhunter a long time ago. I still think this cookie cutter mythology for perks is completely wackodocious. I have two builds for Kensei. The first I have for Kensei is Devour, Endurance, and Headhunter, and then I have Devour, Endurance, and Fresh Focus. The Devour, Endurance, and Fresh Focus build I've had since the beginning of time with Kensei, but I probably do need to make some adjustments and go to the Vanguard special of Shields Up, Devour, and Headhunter. I would have loved to have seen Remedy, Devour, and Headhunter combination for Kensei. I don't think that would have been a bad thing. The issue is, and the reason why I mainly have to change these, and you guys probably already know this, is because of all the stamina changes that they've made. But for now, we move. For Shigoki, I went with the heavy special, Remedy, Bastion, and Last Stand. As you may have noticed with Conqueror, Black Prior, a heavy lean hybrid in Lawbringer, and now Shigoki, these three perks are solid go-tos across the board. For Orochi, I went with, can you guess it by now? The Assassin Special, Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush Them. You probably can also guess what I would say next, and that's if you went with Headhunter as an option instead of Crush Them, that would make sense too. I think you get the gist of where this is headed, but let's see if we can have some surprises as we head down through the Wulin as well as the Outlanders. For Nobushi, I went with Radiant Rebound, Remedy, and Rising Dawn. I'm very much a support hero Nobushi, and I just really want to assist my teammates as much as I can poke and prod from a distance. And her being my favorite hero since the beginning of the game, she is like a mosquito that keeps following you around. And just when you think you're good, they buzz in your ear and let you know that they are there. In her case, it's with a little poke. As a change up for Nobushi, I also run Radiant Rebound, Remedy, and Feline Agility. But eventually, I'll probably throw in a Rapid Refresh. For Shinobi, I went with Devour, Remedy, and Crush Them. Shaman and Shinobi are two of the assassins that have both Devour and Remedy available, so take advantage of them. They both have variable builds that are really good for perk groupings, and the beauty of them is they're active from the sound of the horn. For Aramusha, I went with Bastion, Vengeful Barrier, and Last Stand. Aramusha is a heavy hybrid, so it made sense for him to have perks from that class. Aegis is another choice you could use given his feats, the same way as Yorm. The good thing about the inventory slots is you can create multiple builds. Another good thing about those dang inventory slots is that if you create a build for one hero, or I guess for one slot, you can then, if there's a hero skin for your freaking hero, and like there is for Aramusha, you can also just use like inventory slot 1 for that hero skin, and you'll be good to go. You won't have to go through and try to spend steel for that freaking hero skin. That's at least one positive of having all these dang slots. For Hitokiri, I went with, yep, you already know, the freaking heavy special. Bastion, Vengeful Barrier, and Last Stand. Now, Hyper Armor and Heavy just works with Bastion and Last Stand, and I wasn't going to deviate from it with Hitokiri and their kit. For Sohei, I went with, can you guess it? Not the heavy special. Sohei is a heavy, but he has a Vanguard's perk grouping for some reason. That's, out of all these different perk groupings, this was one of the ones that was most surprising. I know Scent was one, Sohei is another, and I believe there's one more. But for Sohei, I went with Devour, Endurance, and Headhunter. How he ended up with this grouping is just, I'm just blown away. It doesn't make sense to me. But thinking about it, they did do something unique with Sohei, having him capture souls to get his Benkei's Vengeance.
Benkei's Vengeance.
Heavy perk groupings have Remedy, and they probably didn't want Sohei being able to heal from his Benkei's Vengeance.
Benkei's Vengeance.
When he already has a tier 2 that promotes healing instead of using his 7-4 strike move.
Benkei's Vengeance.
I would understand if you only went with Devour and Headhunter here, honestly. But since we're talking 3 perk builds, this is what I went with. For Kyoshin, I went with Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush Them from the Assassin Special. It's a solid build if it's available for your hero, and I went with it here for Kyoshin. You have to work with what the hero has. Now time for the Wulin. For Tiandi, I went with Remedy, Feline Agility, and Clever Tactics, which is not the Vanguard special. Tiandi is a Vanguard that would set up a little differently. Tiandi's perk build lines up with hybrids like VG and Valk. There's nothing special that's going to make you feel about using this hero outside of Remedy here, unless you're a massive Rapid Refresh. I can't even say that word. Why can't I say Rapid Refresh? Tongue twisters suck, and that's not even a tongue twister. You don't really want this perk grouping. This really threw me off. I'm going to keep it moving though. For Zhang Chun, JJ, I went with the alternate heavy special, Remedy, Bastion, and Bulk Up. So now we're kind of back on track with the class having a certain perk grouping. With these perks, just get in a capture point, archer point, or stay near the ram and defend it. Operate to your strengths with this perk grouping and you're gonna be fine. For Nusha, I will be changing this to the Assassin Special of Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush Them. But for now, I go with Galestorm, Devour, and Crush Them. A lot of this is repetitive, I know, but I believe even with Galestorm, it fits her well. As any other combination you could put out there, Crush Them will be better because what you're trying to do is maximize your time on the battlefield while being a positive contributor. And if this perk grouping had Crush Them, it would be doing that. And this build just happens to be available for 80% of the assassins in the game. For Shaolan, I went with the no-brainer choice, Devour, Remedy, and Crush Them. 3 heroes up to this point have the ability to combine these 3 perks, and I would be surprised if there's any player out there that doesn't at least run Devour and Remedy at minimum. If you're choosing the other common and rare perks other than these, you're just being contrarian for no legitimate reason. For Zanhu, I went with Devour, Endurance, and Headhunter. Just by seeing this, y'all should have picked up by this point that while Zanhu is a hybrid, the hero got the Vanguard perk treatment. I do believe how they construct these hybrid heroes perk groupings clues you into what type of hero class lane they are. In Zanhu's case, it's the Vanguard class. I don't know what's going on with Sohei. Maybe they started changing things up in year 8. Who knows? But Vanguard class for Zanhu. Let's just keep it moving. Now it's time for the last class, and that's the Outlanders. For Pirate, I went with Devour, Endurance, and Headhunter. Just like Zanhu, Pirate also received the Vanguard treatment in the perks department, and based on what she is working with as a total package, I didn't see a need to deviate from this perk grouping. For Medjai, I went with Remedy, Feline Agility, and Clever Tactics. Once again, yes, I understand if Rapid Refresh would be your choice instead of Clever Tactics. It would make sense. This is just what I chose because there are many matches I end up, honestly, with 6 takedowns with Medjai. I think it's because I spend so much time in mid. I don't know. It's kind of strange. Anyways, to not get off track, Remedy, Feline Agility, Clever Tactics, that's what I'm running for Medjai. For Afira, I went with Devour, Remedy, and Crush Them. As if Afira didn't have enough in the game already, she also has one of the better perk groupings in the game. Afira makes 4 heroes joining Shaolin, Shinobi, and Shaman that have this perk grouping. The next Knight hero has to have this grouping, right? And I'm sure you guys can catch on to why I said that. For Ocelot, I went with Radiant Rebound, Remedy, and Clever Tactics. Griffin, Valk, Tiandi, VG, and Medjai are the other heroes with this perk grouping. Clever Tactics is perfect to go along with Ocelot's tier 1. And lastly, for Hatun, I went with, you guessed it, the Assassin Special. The first Outlander class other than Hybrid ended up with Galestorm, Devour, and Crush Them, but eventually I'll get this to Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush Them, I promise. That's what she should have. That's what she deserves to have. That's what she will get. It just makes too much sense to pair Devour and Early Reaper together, especially with Crush Them with the ability to get a takedown, go into her full guard deflect, and have her next attack be boosted. I got to get this fixed. So some of the main takeaways from this is that you can come close to determining your perk build based on the class of hero that you have. If you're a heavy class, count on Remedy, Bastion, and Last Stand being available. If you're Vanguard, get ready to run Shields Up, Devour, and Headhunter. And if you're in the Assassin class, you will be able to go with Devour, Early Reaper, and Crush Them. So the class of the hero appears to matter. Another takeaway from building these 3 perk builds is once they are done getting heroes' feats in order, and if they don't have plans to remove any perks, they really need to rework some of them. The stamina related perks don't have the impact they once had. Also, the fact that you get the same HP for a kill in the Remedy perk that you get for Devour, which you need to get an execution, doesn't make sense. There's no way they should be the same. They should not be 10 and 10. Just go 10 for Remedy and 12 or 13 for Devour when you get an execution. I think that's sufficient. Give it a little more because executions are going to be a little tougher after you get your kill. So you should get a little bonus for that. I'm sure there's a rhyme or reason as to why they gave certain heroes their 7 certain perks, but that even HP just never made sense. And maybe y'all can explain it to me. And one last takeaway is that I think you can get a good idea of a Hybrid's hero class, as I mentioned with Zanhu. You can kind of figure out what lane they are based on their perk build. Sohei's Vanguard perk build was interesting as a heavy class hero, and I think that could have been due to his 7-4 strike move, aka Benkei's Vengeance. Having the possibility of healing on top of erasing someone, since they also have a passive tier 2 in which they can use to heal instead of using Benkei's Vengeance. Like I was saying earlier. Well, that's it, family. And hey, perks are not used in the competitive scene, so if that's your aim, you probably don't care as much about perks, and you probably didn't get this far in the video. But for a larger pool of players that play Dominion, and a few less that play Skirmish or Elimination, I hope this gave you some ideas of how you want to do your build for your favorite heroes, or maybe a different take compared to what you have and run currently. Maybe you also discovered how the class affects the perk grouping that you get with the hero. And you also discovered maybe some of the similarities that you didn't know before. So I hope you did get something out of this. And let me know in the comments what you thought. I appreciate it. I'll catch y'all on the next one. As always, you took the time to stop by this channel today. I'm always appreciative of that. Till next time, y'all. Peace.